This podcast is brought to you by Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine for those that love to make and drink great beer. To learn more or to subscribe, visit beerandbrewing.com or find us on social media at Craft Beer Brew. It's episode 429 of the Craft Beer and Brewing Podcast. I'm Jamie Bogner. We're here recording in the office, the Craft Beer and Brewing office in Fort Collins, something we don't do very often because often we're out there on the road. Joining me is Cody Peczkowski, Director of Brewing Operations for Moontown in Indianapolis. Welcome to the podcast, Cody.
Thank you very much. Honor to be here. Thanks, Jamie.
And you guys just happen to be doing a collaboration beer north of us in Cheyenne, Wyoming, with a former Indianapolis compadre.
Yeah. Teaming up with some old guys from Metazoa and bringing back together a little fun collaboration brew for GBF this year. We both won Brewery of the Year. We won Brewery of the Year respectively for our barrelage, 500 to 1,000 or whatever that range is, and then they won Brewery Group of the Year the same year, 2021. And so we always talked about getting together and doing something, and Rob has been spearheading the effort, so we're getting together here at Blacktooth and brewing up something great, hopefully.
Rob shot me a text and was like, oh, man, we need to get a podcast going while you guys are here. This is too good to pass up. I know a lot of brewers that are CBC probably have some experience with Moontown, going to check out the brewery while they were there earlier this year. If you're a reader of Craft Beer and Brewing and saw the review of Dirndl Dance last year in our lager issue and saw the 98 score that it pulled in, then you might be excited about that. If you are still a subscriber to Craft Beer and Brewing and are looking at our brand new lager issue, which actually may not be out by the time this episode is out, and saw Follow the Lederhosen with its score of 97 in Craft Beer and Brewing, then you might be excited about this episode. Or say, if you pay attention to those small competitions like the Great American Beer Festival, where you won 3 GABF medals in lager and cream ale in 2021, and obviously won that Brewery of the Year in that category, or also won a gold and a bronze in 2020. 2-year-old brewery who then 2 years in a row wins 5 GABF medals. I mean, that's cool and all. That's cool. But then again, and then 2022, you go to World Beer Cup and win a gold for Märzen for this same beer, Follow the Lederhosen. And then also won a gold for the same beer in 2025. Won a silver medal in 2024 for Schoolhouse Bock. Like, this is an interesting record of some badass results and some killer medals and some stuff. Anyway, in this kind of context, I thought we had to have a conversation about the Moontown approach to lager brewing, and I hope I embarrassed you just enough in this intro.
Yeah.
Why haven't you won European Beer Star yet? Come on.
I don't know the import laws yet. I still got to read that text on that.
Is there anything you haven't won yet, Cody? Jesus. Jeez. We're going to talk about lager brewing in this episode, and we're going to talk about the way the Moontown makes lagers. Before we do that, for years, G&D Chillers has chilled the beers you love, partnering with 3,000 plus breweries across North America and beyond. They're proud of the cool partnerships they've built over the past 30 years because brewing doesn't stop at 5 o'clock, and nor do they. They use quality components, expert craftsmanship, and constant innovation. With their 24/7 service and support, your brewery will never stop. Remote monitor your chiller for simple and fast access to all the information you need, and gain peace of mind your operation is running smoothly. And brewers, what if your yeast could do more than just ferment? With Berkeley Yeast, it can. They bioengineer ordinary strains and make them extraordinary, enhancing the flavors you want and eliminating the ones you don't. Now, in addition to competitive pricing, they're offering free overnight shipping on 5+ barrel pitches. Try it out. If you don't love it, they'll happily refund you. So why settle for ordinary when you can brew with better yeast? Visit berkeleyyeast.com to learn more and start brewing with science on your side. Also, as breweries expand beyond beer into other segments like mocktails and CBD beverages, Old Orchard is here to help. They can formulate custom blends featuring specialty ingredients. Whether trending flavor additions or nostalgic favorites, the next best thing is around the corner at Old Orchard. More information and free samples are waiting at oldorchard.com/brewer. That's oldorchard.com/brewer. All right, Cody. Let's talk about the Moontown story, and let's talk about your story. Maybe we start with you first.
Sure.
Give me your background in brewing. You're director of brewing ops for Moontown now, but where'd you catch the bug? How'd you start brewing, and how did that arc lead you to Moontown?
I would tell you that my first craft beer was Goose Island Oatmeal Stout. Snagged one from my older brother. He's 4 years older than me. I absolutely hated it, and I told myself I'm going to learn to appreciate this beer. So
you were driven. You were that driven.
I was like,
why do I not like this? And
it was like the hip hop thing a little bit too, into a little underground and stuff that was not as on the popular trend. I think that was always like kind of early on, kind of my angle, I guess you would say. And
it's my brother, a little bit abstract for you. You know, you got to find the way in. And
my brother was into that stuff, so that kind of led me there. And I was.
I mean, what a cool brother! If 4 years older than you and was already doing that kind of thing.
Led me to appreciate that, and so that led me into craft beer a little bit. If I was getting beer underage earlier, it was Guinness Extra Stout 6-packs. That was the go-to. People wouldn't touch it.
Not bad.
You know, everyone else would smash Miller Lite, whatever. Let's fast forward to college. Still, a lot of I went to school where my brother went at Purdue. There were a lot of other guys in the fraternity house that also drank craft beer, and it was all what you could get back then. And I know that you may not call this craft necessarily, but it was the Taddy Porter and even other Lindemans.
You guys are drinking Samuel Smith's beers in college?
Yes, Samuel Smith. You got
After
got
My Own Heart. What year was that?
I was, what would that be? 2004 to 2008, 2009.
Oh, man. I remember in college, I turned 21 in 1995. So at that point, I was similarly absurdly geeky about beer and was going to school in Memphis, Tennessee, and Tennessee had terrible laws around this kind of stuff. And I had to drive over the bridge to West Memphis, Arkansas, just to get import beer like Samuel Smith's and stuff. And so, but it was also formative in the same kind of way. And I made the same kind of pilgrimage and spent so much money on beer compared to my friends. It was, but I was an indie music geek, and like I felt aesthetically superior to my peers in so many other ways also. And the beer that I drank just had to also reflect that
seeking the premium.
That sheer snobbery that was just part and parcel of my self-identity at that point.
You're funny. You're making me like do some introspection right here. It's like, is that what I was doing this whole time?
No, I mean I was a college radio DJ at that time. Like I was.
Yeah, you got an ego. Yeah, that's good.
Man, my taste was so much better than everybody else. Yeah.
But yeah, doing Samuel Smith's Speedway beers, AleSmith rather.
Sure.
Being Indiana boy, we were spoiled with Three Floyds. I had access to that early on, and often Rogue were famous, and then Stone. I would say those are like all those big bombers, the 22s. So getting in all of that. Fast forward again a little bit more. Still in college, my college, one of my fraternity brothers, three of us live out of house. His dad was home brewing at the time, was upgrading his system, said, "Hey, you want to brew beer?" I was like, "Yeah." And so gives us a 5-gallon, the old 5-gallon, like it's that enameled blue speckled, white and blue speckled pot. Brewed on that in the stovetop, had a copper immersion chiller, whole thing, 5 gallons at a time. Started with a porter, which it's funny, Moontown still brews Into the Void, which is that original porter recipe.
Really?
Yeah, for sure, for real. I will be honest, just even recently, and this is because we're just looking at a lot of our stuff again and trying to improve and to do tweaks. It has changed a little bit, but its guts are still there. The foundations are there. Yeah. Yeast is there, malt bill. So it's funny. It was good. And again, maybe I'm full of shit, right? We homebrew, whatever. But like it tasted good to us. I did it again and did it again. That was the bug I needed, and so that was great. That was cool. Did a little bit in college. Graduated and moved out to Phoenix. Went to school for health and wellness with a double in Law and Society, and went personal trainer, health wellness coordinator route. Did corporate wellness. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I got into doing. Worked for Verizon Wireless for a while, running a on-site gym for a call center with a coworker, and it was a great job. Still miss it. Love that, helping people and doing
wellness.
That things. Yeah,
that's great.
I'm still in health and wellness. I like to say it's just different.
Sure.
So
you're helping people build social relationships.
Yes.
facilitating those kinds of connections and conversations that people need to have
Yeah,
in their social lives to feel like full human beings.
Community's great. I mean, can't beat it. So was doing that job for a little while, and then kept trying to put my foot in the door at Arizona breweries. Hey, need an internship? Can I job shadow, whatever? And I don't know if it was the runaround or not, but it probably might have been just like, oh yeah, we just hired a guy, or come back in a month. And I was, all honestly, I was bad at following up. Finally put feelers out. Got an in at BJ's Brewhouse, and through my miscommunication there, missed a pretty good opportunity. And then but he luckily turned me on to great brewer Doc Osborne. He turned me on to Gary Fritzy, who was working at Gordon Biersch at the time out in Glendale, Arizona. And so that became still like Phoenix Metro, right? It's all that same. But that's what I met Gary. Gary happened to be a Purdue grad himself. We hit that off. Funny thing though, like funny story about that is that I've got long hair now and a little facial hair, but I had a really grown out beard and long hair, and Gary liked clean cut. And really ironically, my dad, when he graduated in the 70s from Purdue as well, and tried getting a job, he couldn't get one. And he cut his hair, and he always warned me about that. And it was funny. I'm like, Dad, come on, whatever. And if Gary and I hadn't hit it off, he said, like, he was like, that was kind of he's like, that was a thing. I was like, I like clean cut. But Gary and I really hit it off, and he became my mentor, and that's basically where I got my start, was Gordon Biersch in Phoenix, Arizona, Glendale technically.
Sure.
They had a production facility, 30-barrel brew house, 60-barrel fermenters, 60-barrel bright tanks, and then we served Scottsdale location, a Gilbert location, and a Tempe location. Tempe location also had a brewery, 27 hectoliter German Brautechnik, semi-automated, but at this time it was switchboard. It's still one of it could have been a pain in the butt, especially when the actuators would fail and you have to maybe change air line out on the go. But that was still a very cool experience to brew in that brewery.
But that's a nice disciplined production environment where you learned how to make good beer at scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so there's another opportunity to move up, and I was like, well, I could do it. But I was doing really well at Verizon at the time, and it was more than 50% pay cut, no benefits. And I said no at first. And then I had a pit in my stomach that day, and called him back and was like, hey man, I was crying, seriously, with my girlfriend at the time, now wife. But it was a really hard time. And I called him back and kind of regretted it. And he was like, I gave the job to another guy, and I was like, okay. Well, the guy was going into retirement or something like that, and thought he wanted to be a brewer, older guy, whatever, and he hung in the towel in a month, and I was like, I'm taking it. And so I went, gave good notice at Verizon, and then went on to brew, and stayed with him for I think another year. So now then I got another full year of full time with him, and then we would run the Tempe brewery and Glendale. Glendale basically facilitated most of the valley. Tempe would brew our house export, Märzen and Hefeweizen, and then everything else we would supply from Glendale. And did that, and they started trying to ship me around. So I had a couple choices of a few cities, and I was like, that doesn't sound good. I don't want to go there. And then Kansas City came available. So that was my first head brewer job. And then I got sent to Kansas City, which was same setup actually as Glendale, 30-barrel brew house, 60-barrel fermenter, 60-barrel brights. Real nice setup with one second location in Leawood, Kansas. So then I ran that for, I got in there, and man, I needed to do some work, and I got to work, clean that place up and running it high and tight. And Gordon Biersch was trying to change their brand a little bit and finally doing IPAs and other things. And, unfortunately, probably a little too late. And it's still sad to me. It's amazing to me to look at craft beer where it is and wonder because you have talented people, and even beyond better than even I know. The tenure of the two guys that I was under was Gary Fritzy and Doug Hasker, and both of them are Doug's still brewing at Puesto Cerveceria out in San Diego.
Yeah. Puesto's great.
Yeah. So, and that's been good. Him and Jacob, great buddies. It's been awesome to keep that going along. And Gary's at Barrio in Tucson. Yeah, it's been great. It's just funny about Gordon Biersch in a way to me always to see where craft beer went, and then anyway,
that's the market for
that
you,
is right. I know. But that's where I cut my teeth. That's where I learned everything. It was a fun thing. That was a great community. I loved our time there. It was short. I think we were only for like a year and a half, because then they announced closure. And at the time that they announced closure, that was when my friends, the Mattingleys, started this. So my business partner, Bobby, had started home brewing. He came home and started brewing with his dad, wanted to learn what he was doing. And that's who... Pat Mattingly is my college roommate that we started brewing with. His dad gave us the brew kit. So it's like this early seed plant that you had no idea was going to sprout. Right. Maybe he did. Maybe he knew. And he planted the seed early on, and man, did it grow. Because I pursued professional brewing, and this whole time I'm doing this. So, connecting all the dots. Bobby comes back, wants to learn how to brew. His dad and him start brewing. He wins a local homebrew competition. The city says, hey, we got this building. It's old high school gymnasium. It's from the 40s. Probably going to get torn down. No one uses it. What do you say? We got it for $1. His father's in construction anyway, so it was a good fit. We renovated the space that was basically just 4 walls, and we put a brewery in it, and an event space, and a brew pub.
But you've been involved in this then from the very launch of the brewery.
Yes, yeah. They had plans rolling, but they reached out to me, and so it was weird happenstance. I thought I wanted to do it. My original plan was to go work for Gordon Biersch, try to be a head brewer for maybe like 3 to 5 years, write my business plan. Let's go do something. They approached me with this opportunity. I'm like, well, that's funny, isn't it? And
that's the universe of work, and this kind of interesting and kind of funny and snarky way. Like, you never would have expected it to quite happen that way.
Well, they came out and met. We brewed together there at Kansas City, and sat down, talked about it all. And a week later, when I was supposed to let them know my decision, Gordon Biersch announced closure. And I was like, well, that's
good timing.
All right. So, and
makes things a little easier.
Yeah. And then we just pursued with that. And I'm from Indiana originally. So I'm from the Mishawaka area. And it's kind of like coming home. I don't know Indy that well. It's funny. I've been there been back home for almost a decade now almost. And it's still like, I'm like, I know my way around still. I don't leave Whitestown though. We bought a house like a block away, gutted it, rented it. It's one of the original homes in this legacy core of old Whitestown. It's 1915, so it's just funny. And that's a really neat thing we got going on there. Bobby lives in the neighborhood. Our chef lives in the neighborhood. Got one of our managers that's got a house. It's a cool little community we've got going on there at Moontown. But
there you go. Well, I want to talk about then. Obviously, you then start joining. You join Moontown. You become a part of this team. And you guys have to start thinking about a beer program. And clearly lager plays a big piece in that. Lager this was, these conversations were going, 2016-ish or so. You opened in 2018.
Yep.
And so you're thinking about, you're building a brewery in order to make the beer. And you're thinking about the beer that you make. And you want to think about, how you're going to make craft beer for the town here in Whitestown, which is where you're centered. And so let's talk about that kind of creative process, because clearly it has resulted in some great beer. Before we do that, Indie Hops brings Oregon's natural wonder to brewers, celebrating 16 years of delivering compelling new hop varieties along with classics that thrive in Oregon's terroir. Indie is the original source for Strata, Luminosa, Lorien, Meridian, and their newest variety, Audacia. Release your creativity with the magic of pure, uncut Oregon hops from Indie. Indie Hops, life is short. Let's make it flavorful. And Extra Tough has been making rugged and reliable boots for 75 years, built for the harshest conditions. The Legacy Collection styles are oil, acid, and chemical resistant with a non-slip rated outsole. Be prepared for whatever comes your way and shop the latest Extra Tough boots on extratough.com. That's XTRATUF.com. All right, Cody, let's talk about building a beer program. One of my favorite questions to kick off the Craft Beer and Brewing podcast with, as I know everyone listening knows. But leaning heavily into this world of lagers in 2018 still felt like maybe something a little bit different.
Sure.
Something kind of out of the normal craft kind of playbook. It would have been much easier to say, hey, we're going to make a bunch of hazy IPAs and and fruited sours at that point. So what drew you to lagers, and what, and then talk to me about how you went down this road to think about how you're going to develop compelling lagers that had character, that felt like they were connected to the basic styles, but also, we're going to find some character and some spark of their own.
Oh yeah. So I think it was kind of just the brew pub feel again. And I got to blame probably, the Gordon Biersch brew pub and playing in my ear a lot and experience and kind of crafting that. But I thought we should always do a variety of beers. So even from the beginning, I was like, you got to have your light beer, right? So light lager for sure. You got to have that like fruity, spicy thing. And that was always what it was going to be, hef or wit. Well, again, I did know hef, and I liked that. I did wit too, but like I was like, we'll go that route. You need a malty, but I'd probably do a rather malty lager than malty ale. Even though, again, the toughest part still is knowing your demographic. And I would tell you that I went in there, looking back, it's always easy, right? Retrospect is like, okay, because Indiana demographic for drinking beer, you would think like lager works, and it does, it kills. But sometimes I guess you'd think some beers would do better than they do, and they don't always. I guess the landscape's ever changing too. But yeah, I thought providing variety of all styles always worked. We started off with like having a Belgian beer always on. And again, that could be a wit roll in too, but we rotated through Tripel, through Quad, and kept that kind of going. Grisette is another popular one that we do. But dark beer.
Grisette is a popular one that we do. That's not a phrase I hear that often.
Well, I shouldn't say that. That's not fair because it was hot and then it wasn't, and then it sold really well again, and
it finds its way into the rotation every now and then.
Now we call it, what do we call it? Farmhouse Grisette. And then Sure. You got to play with those marketing terms, right? Man, sometimes I feel like I'm not the best with that either.
Dry,
but that's okay.
low ABV.
I make great beer. Someone else should maybe. Yeah. Dry, low ABV beer. Yeah, great.
It's a phenomenal category, and brewers should make more of it, and more so, drinkers should drink more of it. But I digress. Let's talk about your program.
So it was kind of the thing. Always diverse, and of course IPA. Duh. And we even started with pale ale on there, obviously, believe it or not, 2018, not surprising, obviously, but, things change over time. Even some of the West Coast stuff that we used to do, I think that even, it seemed like came out of vogue, and it's nice that we're doing a lot of West Coast now, and I would say it's more contemporary. And thanks and great to the Craft Beer and Brewing podcast. I was going to tell you this earlier when we were talking, but no, I mean it's very inspirational hearing other guys talk, and it's awesome when people share their stuff because I think it is all helping us make all better beer. For those of us listening and taking note and doing some self-accounting. I know our stuff has gotten better, and that was kind of the next move is what we've been working on lately.
I'm going to give you a fist bump for that one, though.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
That's
the whole point of this, right?
I'm not kidding.
Let's help everybody make better beer.
We've
no gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Let's make craft beer better.
Yeah, and it's helped us. I'm really happy with some of the little tweaks. We were planning to do some tweaks, mainly like water pH stuff was my next moves. But then hearing some of the different things, especially for West Coast IPA,
sure,
has been very helpful, and it's awesome. But yeah, so we always wanted that diverse lineup. And we do that. It's funny, like we've got locals coming, asking for a stout, and I'm like, you mean that stout that sat around for 9 months? Or whatever, maybe it's 6 months, but it covers the board a little too long than we would like. Not that it doesn't hold up well, and we brew for that, but so that was kind of our approach. I always was a lager fan, and so we were. How could you not be coming from Gordon Biersch? But yeah, that was kind of again like cut the teeth. So I always want to do the seasonal stuff, and I didn't want to hate to be like copycat, and I don't think it is, but doing the seasonal lager rotation. We'd start doing a Maibach. Maibach from Gordon Biersch was one of my favorite beers when I was there brewing. And so it was just that thing again of trying to make it my own and having to break away, knowing that like I loved where I came from and respected traditional style and still do. I still think every brewer, even if you're like, this is my Märzen, it should be your own. And obviously people are going to critique it, and you have every right to love it and make it the way you want to make it. Someone might not like your style, but I think again, like it, we always get into this thing of comparing styles sometimes. And again, I am very classic, but it's just funny when the critique.
No, I hear you, and I completely agree with you. I think that the worst thing that could ever happen to beer is for a global hegemony of style to take place.
Yeah.
What we don't want is this monoculture where everyone is striving towards one thing. What you want is within these styles, you want interesting expressions that speak to whether that's local ingredients, local water, whatever that is, to give it a sense of place, and that connects it to something real in where it's made.
Yep.
Like that's what makes it interesting. I don't want to go have the same beer on every place on the planet.
Right.
I want to go to places and have beer that speaks to the place that we're in from brewers that are making it in a way that connects to the place that they're at. Like I just don't want, like, we shouldn't have everyone trying to make the same Munich lager. That's really fucking boring.
Yeah, it is boring, right? Yeah, that's a good point.
And what's the point? Like now, having said that, like things should hold together. They should feel like the thing.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, especially in this competitive sense. Like, how does it feel like this, that it's going to, that it connects to this German style, Märzen or whatnot kind of style, or, the Bach or Maybach style, but also has its own kind of point of view. Like from a competitive sense. And again, you're not necessarily thinking about the beer as you're thinking about the beer you want to drink.
Right.
And thankfully that aligns with the way the judges are looking in a competition, something that fits the bill, but also stands out and has some character in some way.
Sure.
How do you kind of ride? That's a delicate line to ride. How do you ride that line?
The biggest thing still was the change, I guess, for, Gordon Biersch had the base recipes, but I had to make them my own. And part of that was using more premium ingredients throughout.
Sure.
Wireman for all of our German specialties are usually Wireman. And that's, that was one of the changes. But then
again, lots of brewers that are winning medals are using Wireman. And lots of brewers in general are using Wireman. So what is it beyond Wireman malt?
I don't know. I guess one of the other things with our brew house, so this, I guess, the way we had RO in Arizona when I started.
Because water is terrible in Arizona.
Kansas City did not. And so I wanted to do RO in Indiana, and the water is not that great where we're at, and near Indianapolis can be pretty hard. We used RO, and then the other thing with the GB setup was always mash mixer kettle and lauter ton, at least the two vessel system. So and that's what I did. Even though now, I'm not kidding you. I think we're a year in or two, and I'm like, 4 vessel was the move, And I think any brewer probably can say stuff like that, and all the cool stuff that's happening with craft beer right now, and other things I should have thought through. I mean, we don't have horizontals.
So you're still brewing on a 2 vessel system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a.
Do you know the kind of hope that gives so many brewers listening to this right now? It's a great story, Cody. It's a great story.
2 vessel system, yeah. Mash mixer kettle, whirlpool, and a lauter ton. We have the other thing we did was serving vessels or bright tanks. We have 8 of those. Should have been horizontals, or should have at least gotten maybe half of them. I don't know. Hindsight.
So all of your lagers are conditioning and conicals.
And we don't do. We only use finings on hot side. No biofine on the other side. I joke all the time that I would get a plate and frame back out because we used to at Gordon Biersch. I mean, there is something to a nice filtered lager. They're different, and it's worth the effort to me. We used to have 100 sheet plate and frame. I used to run both Kansas City and Glendale, and it sucked, but man, that beer was great. And I would do that again just for that quality. I know a lot of people spin and everything, and I don't have experience with that, but we do everything unfiltered. A lot of stuff is hazy. That's why I call all our stuff Keller pills or Keller lager or whatever, because it might be 6 or 8 weeks, and it may still not be bright, unfortunately. And we're doing, crash to 0, giving it some time at 0, like a couple weeks before sending it over to
0 Celsius.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
no, that's right.
I rock all Celsius.
It's perfectly okay.
And
all of our non-USA listeners appreciate that.
Yeah, so that was some of the Gordon Biersch stuff. I wish more kilograms and other metric would have stuck. Not that we used all of that, but yeah, I definitely would appreciate more of the metric system. We step mash everything. There's not a beer we don't step mash. So everything we take through, even IPA, and I know people probably will giggle at that and laugh all their days.
Stem mash or IPA? Okay.
Yeah, we do, and it's funny. We tried one on a single infusion recently, and part of it probably was yeast and everything else. It did not attenuate. It hit a mark that's good for I think some consumers. For myself, not so much. The beer turned out great. We loved it.
But this is a West Coast IPA then?
This is a hazy IPA.
A hazy IPA?
Yeah.
So step mashed a hazy IPA.
We step mash our hazy IPA.
Okay. And what was this finishing gravity on it?
Oh, that's a different one. The one that we don't step mash, the one that we didn't step mash, the first one that we ever single infused, 6.5 maybe or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's normal. And then this one got drier when you step mashed it.
Actually, I think we did just rebrew it. I don't know that it did, which is really hilarious when you compare that stuff.
Okay.
But we do play with our timing that way.
Right.
We have been tweaking that more, just playing with the rests and the temperatures and where those ranges are.
What do you mean by that? Like, what are some of the exact rests that you're?
Yeah, our basic is 52, 62, 68, 72 with mash out at 76, and usually at basis 20 minutes per, 10 at 52, and then mash out. Once we hit temp, we'll just start sending it over and then do a mash rest usually in the lauter. So yeah, that's kind of our typical profile for most beers, but now we've been tweaking that to see if we want more attenuation or maybe spending time at 65, even in between 62 and 68, spending less time at 72. Sometimes we do
in order to accomplish.
Yeah, either drier, more fermentability
Right.
at that lower temperatures. At the higher temperature, sometimes if we want to keep that body still in that lager, that's when we'll maybe spend like 30 minutes at 72, and then that helps keep some residual sugar around. But that's
more style dependent than
for sure. And we're playing around with that constantly. It's funny about like 40th that you have in front of you, our Czech Pils.
This is a beer called 40th Parallel Pilsner Czech Pils.
It's brewing the old GB mash profile on it. We used to finish around 3 or so for the longest time, and I was like, man, I want to get that drier. And it's funny because traditionally it should probably be a little on the sweeter side, and so now we're going back to tweaking it the other way. Even though it's not by my preference, I like that beer drier. I like how it pops. I like the snap. It's better that way, and I think. But maybe it's not going to win. So whatever, we'll play with it.
And you want to win.
I don't, it's fun. I was telling you earlier.
Well, I think that heavier body, or that fuller body.
Fuller body.
I don't want to call it heavy. Let's call it full.
You're good.
Full is better. And that more full body, along with the more pronounced hop character that it takes to balance against that full body, kind of creates that true Czech expression more so than a lot of the leaner kind of approaches that we tend to see more of in the United States.
And you wouldn't see diacetyl in ours, for sure.
I wouldn't expect it.
Just say it. I had to say it.
That's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
There's plenty of great Czech examples in Czechia, which
I know I haven't had the pleasure
diacetyl
yet. I haven't had the pleasure. I need to.
And there's plenty that do, and those tastes.
They're
those
great
tastes.
too, right? Yeah.
There's a taste for everybody.
Mm-hmm. The biggest thing I would say with our multi beers that's changed recently, just to share whatever more insight, is decoction. And with our system, we probably could figure a way. And I've thought about doing multi-step. It would be a lot of work. What we really do is essentially a mash out decoction. So that final step, maybe we'll hit 72 and then send over 75%, 80% mash. We always make that call. I actually been playing with a lot more left in the kettle than I would even say less than 75% over. Just because I kind of like that idea of boiling more of it. Even though we're always told forever, don't boil your grain, and all this. And I don't think, again, I would tell you this from years of brewing lager and other multi lagers. When we've added this mash out decoction, they are better in my opinion. We're getting better malt flavor, and we're
so
doing.
Tell me the basic of this mash out decoction.
Yeah.
You're going to move over a third, or
sure, or 2/3, probably closer, maybe
really?
More than that. We'll probably leave a third in the kettle or less, and then throw that all in the lauter at like 72. Bring that to a boil, and again, your time is
there's
up
grain
to you.
and words in there. Yeah.
10 to 20 minutes, whatever you're thinking you want to do. And then we send that back over to lauter and mix everything back up, start Vorloff, and then start run off as soon as we can.
2/3 seems like a lot of that for a decoction process.
I'm saying 2/3 to the lauter.
Oh, okay.
Though, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I gotcha.
Leaving a third or a quarter in the kettle.
I see what you're saying. So you're going from the mash mixer, you take 2/3 over to the lauter, leave a third there, and then crank that up, and then move. Okay.
Yeah. But that has proven, I think we're getting, we actually decoct our hef all the time now. We played around with that back and forth. We're actually going to be tweaking that a little bit here soon too. That is a.
How do you think that this mash out decoction compares to say a more traditional using decoction to raise your step temperatures through the mash?
I wish we could do all 3 levels. I've done one beer where we mashed in like part of the mash. I took it through a quick step mash, like 2-3 steps, boiled that, boiled that, mashed in again. On top of that, ran that through step mash, sent over, decocted a portion, sent that over to try to get just a little bit more character or whatever. It's just, like I said, our system doesn't really allow for it. I would rather have a separate kettle that we could send mash over to, like some of the best, like 4 or 5 vessel systems have, these dream breweries that I want to play with. And just because of what we do now. At this stage for me, it's again, we are tweaking. And we're playing around to try to get this stuff to be better, and it's like, how can we drive that? Maybe
one day you'll be able to win a World Beer Cup gold for this. If you keep working at it like that. No.
Hope so.
Oh man, but I think that it all speaks to this point that you're an enterprising brewer that understands the chemical processes at work, and are working with the system that you have in order to try to achieve the flavor that you want using the tools at your disposal. And those aren't always going to be, the most, you're not going to have the full range to do that with, but you're thinking about it kind of creatively and how you can work in with what you have to kind of achieve that. And that's the same kind of problem solving that brewers are doing everywhere in the world, every day, all the time. And you just happen to be really good at it, Cody. So, but let's talk a little bit more about what you feel like that decoction, that mash out decoction adds to the flavor of the beer. Before we do that, resources may be limited, but your creativity doesn't have to be. Yakima Chief Hops knows that every drop matters, and brewers are seeking efficiencies in their operations. Hyperboost is a smarter dry hop solution that delivers bold, variety-specific aroma and flavor you trust, while cutting down on shipping, storage, and waste. Less bulk, less hassle, more flavor, more beer, more profit. Keep pushing the limits of your craft. Yakima Chief Hops has the hops products to help you go further. Find out how much more you can make with less. Try Yakima Chief Hops Efficiency Calculator tool at yakimachief.com. Also, if you're launching a brewery or acquiring an existing one, it is last call for a brewery workshop and New Brewery Accelerator, September 14th through 17th in Fort Collins, Colorado. 4 days, we engage in panel discussions, technical brewery tours, networking, small working group sessions to help you better understand and prepare for the challenges of brewery operation. There are a couple of spots left as we record this right now. Visit breweryworkshop.com for more information and to secure your spot. All right, Cody. So let's talk a little bit about that sensory from this mash out decoction. Clearly, you do it because it's achieving some part of that flavor goal for you. You wouldn't do the extra work and go through extra trouble if it weren't. So, from your perspective, how do you differentiate those beers that you don't do that kind of mash out decoction step with versus when you do it?
And sure, that's years of Gordon Biersch were big Environment users from the get-go anyway, and then we would do that, but again, like I switched the entire profile for some of these beers to that product rather than having Pilsner be whatever base, right? Brewing them and having that experience or that, like, knowing where those beers landed, and then I was like, let's try decoction on them, because some of the old recipes called there for decoction at Gordon Biersch. I never did decoction at my time there ever. Starting to do that, it was one of those things where you get those judge feedback sometimes, make it maltier, and you're like, okay, what? Like, you want some don't know what you want me to do here. So that's where the differences come, I really think. And I would tell you that now for the first time we did, and we can talk about Dirndl dance as well, because I know it's another one for discussion, but because that's basically like Lederhosen's March brewed cousin with more predominantly local malt. But the
interesting.
Yes. So
and now, again, for perspective, with our judges, they scored 1 point apart, a 98 and a 97.
Is fascinating, and that's like the malt's pretty different. Process, the bill is the same of like type of malt and all of that, but the source is different, and then the process is about the same.
Let's dive into that then.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, because you've got Lederhosen, which is more Weirman based.
Sure, yes.
And then you've got Dirndl Dance, which is more Sugar Creek based.
Correct.
So that gives us some point of contrast to talk about,
and it's
malt impact on something like a Märzen.
And it gets very interesting because so he has Caleb Michalke, who's the owner maltster of Sugar Creek, got a land race. I think it's Hana land race from Seed Bank in London, and grew it up. And he calls it Edelweiss. He grew it up into acreage over time. I love it. The Helles you're drinking right now is that. I've told him that I would do a decocted Helles every year with Edelweiss because I just like the profile.
What do you like about it, and what is it about? How does it contrast in terms of, because we're talking about super fine points of flavor here.
Right. And this is a like pre-World War I origin malt, died out post-World War II, under-modified, of course, and he started to grow that back up. I hate to be lame on descriptors right now for sensory, but malty for a Pilsner malt, I don't like. Let me take it.
Wait, it's malty?
Yeah, mm-hmm. And like we were saying, this has got a little bit of a I don't know.
There's a nice toothiness. It's not sweet.
Toothiness is great. I like that.
Yeah. It's not husky or grainy, but it just has.
I was going to say grainy, but not in a negative way.
Right.
It's got like let's go bready then. Let's say that.
There's almost this kind of like fibrous without necessarily being tannic or otherwise. It's not over extracted in that sense. But it just it naturally seems to lend itself to this idea of fullness.
Yeah. He makes a Edelweiss Pilsner, and then he started doing Edelweiss Vienna. And this year's Dirndl that you guys got was the Edelweiss Vienna, which I think was better than last year's even, and more character, just like more pronounced. And so that's just all we swap out. We swap the Weirman malt there for his, and then continue the recipe as is from there. Both decocted, both step mashed the same, hop the same. Which is just like a little magnum early on, first wort, 90 minutes. It's about what we do.
And that's it for hops?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No other hops than early magnum?
I would say still a lot of our lager brewing approaches that way. And it's great to hear other brewers that I look up to and have always respected where they're like, nah, keep it simple, stupid. You're like, you're 3 malts. That might be too much already. 3 hops, too much, man. Like back at, and I forget what the rule was. Like it's like 2 or 3, right? But like, that still rings so true. And it's a fascinating still to me how you can make so much great lager by varying those 2 or 3 ingredients. Call it the malt, call it the hops. I always love that. We're like, we did that right now. We have an American lager on right now, and with corn and rice, and then we've got a German Pilsner we finally did. Very, very similar beers, very similar ending gravities and everything, and completely different. And I always like sharing that with like our team at work when we're trying to teach and educate on beer. Like you can have such a similar thing, but it comes out way different, on its basis. But back to the beer, and
it's kind of like saison and pilsner for that matter.
Right, exactly.
Remarkably similar recipes when you look at it from that perspective.
Yes.
But very drastically different. Well, not even that drastically different.
Outcomes.
I think
right.
I think they're more similar than people want to admit.
I like where you're going.
Yeah.
But yeah, decoction for us again, and this is only I can speak from my years of experience brewing these similar beers, and then obviously our recipes changed.
Right.
We started decocting Schoolhouse Bock first, the Maibach, and because I think traditionally GB used to. I never did. And I'm like, well, we're going to start doing it. And they used to do mash out decoctions because, again, same setup, 2-vessel system, mash mixer kettle.
Do you wear a bracelet that says WWGB?
It's funny.
What would Gordon Biersch do?
Maybe it's just because I have such a fondness, and that's where I know, all right? I love to plug.
That's okay.
They're dead and gone, and it's sad.
Right.
I probably.
But that's your frame of reference, and that's
yeah.
that was your where you cut your teeth, and
and hate to plug again. I don't hate to. Gary Fritzy, I've got everything to owe to him, and teaching me the ways. And it was funny when he, told little birdie to fly away. I've got nothing more to teach you. I'm like, yes, you do. I was like, I can, but it's great. And I think like any person, it takes that individual to make their own leaps and stuff. But
so let's go back and talk about Dirndl Dance.
Yeah.
These two both of these are Märzen.
Yeah.
Follow Lederhosen and Dirndl Dance. Same exact processes. The only difference ultimately is malt.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you then describe the difference between those beers? I don't have at my fingertips what our judges said about them, but now I'm going to have to go back and look at that when we're done recording.
Right.
From your perspective, how would you describe that this identical process for both of these beers reflects in the end, different end products? One's a spring seasonal, one is your normal fall kind of seasonal. But what is this like from you?
Oh yeah, the taste difference.
I guess you don't really have them at the same age to taste against each other.
That's what's always funny about it.
And so there's always some time shifts to the flavor there.
We love Dirndl Dance. I mean, even the first time we brewed it, and I would like to think I have a good palate and can give you some good sensory feedback, but like when we do Dirndl, there's just a difference from that Sugar Creek malt, that Edelweiss, and the decoction on both of them. We just only decocted Lederhosen for the first time just this last year, and then look what it did. So you're like, okay, maybe that was a tweak we needed.
I guess it worked. Okay.
It's been a dry spell a little bit, so
really.
And again, that all came from pushing maltiness, and I would tell you that the decoction does. I don't think, yes, with Dirndl Dance, we need to do it. Caleb would tell you because it's under-modified, you need to be able to step mash it, and you need to be able to decoct it. So we can do that, and it works for us, but we know that Weyermann does not need to be that. It doesn't need to be modified that way, but
do both of them finish at the same gravity then?
It's richer, man. I laptops in the car. I should have brought it up because I would pull my specs up because it'd be funny to nerd out with you on that.
Right.
I love getting technical on things. So, yeah, I think they do though. They're pretty and that's what's another thing. Different malt.
Neither of them are going to be sweet because we're obviously. Our judges are not going to respond to it if it's not properly attenuated for this style of beer.
I would assume we're under 2.8 or at least in that range. I'd have to go look. Of course, maybe we're 3.
Do you use some additional
Pilsner, Vienna, Munich 2, of course, Cara Munich 1. We use the sigillated 2 for mash pH adjustment. But yeah, that's the mix.
And how much of that's generally base malt? Or now am I asking you recipe questions that are...
No, that's fine. It's almost a pretty good even split. I'm trying to think of off the top of my... I'm not good at memory. I'm always again, let me pull up my computer and show you. There's too many numbers up here. No,
what's the Gordon Biersch recipe for this one?
Right, yeah. Well, it's funny. So when we first opened, I had a hard time. So Märzen was our stalwart there. Top seller. Right. That's what even sold out Golden Export.
The top seller for Gordon Biersch was a Märzen. Really?
All the time.
Huh.
As classic brewers, when you brew at a big place like that, you probably don't like the beer that's the top seller. Everyone always has it. It's you're like, wah.
Familiarity breeds contempt.
Arguably a little sweet. If I recall, I can't even remember, and I have to pull it up. I was actually looking at some of this on the car on the way here because I wanted to be a little prepared with some of the numbers. It was sweet though. And again, I tweaked it, and I think our first year I might have followed it. But Bobby even had a homebrew recipe that I thought it tasted good with some amber malt or something in it. And I really liked the note, but yeah, quickly changed and went back to where we're at now. And it's hard. It's going to be hard to change from that one a little bit. Actually, and to be fair, all fairness, we are looking the next change here is looking more at water tweaks minerals because, like I said, we're all RO, so we water bill everything specific for what we're trying to make.
When you're brewing a Märzen, what does some of that water manipulation look like?
Probably, so we use that Brewing water. I wanted to share this part. So
Gotcha.
we use Brewing water. if everyone's familiar with that, and I'm sure they are. It's probably like multi-lager water profile, if I had to guess. But that's what we're going to look at again, and do the tweaks to where we need to like maybe shift things just slightly. And yeah, sorry, I can't give exact specs, not in the headspace. Fermentation though, we're W3470 guys for the most part.
Okay.
Not against anything else, but that was Gordon Biersch grow up. Yeah, I'm a brick boy, if you want to call it that.
A brick boy.
Yeah. It's really funny because home brewing, I quickly moved on to liquid and never looked back, doing the White Labs pitches. I was Y yeast forever, and then did the White Labs, and every time I did White Labs, it would just krausen out and make a mess where I was fermenting. And I was like, I don't know, man. This is better beer. I don't know, it's pretty active. But so getting into Gordon Biersch, yeah, we were bricks for hef and for all our lagers. We did a lot of repitching, cone-to-cone transfer, stuff like that, but still we do bricks. So that's kind of what we've kept doing. And we'll do a brick and a half even on 15-barrel knockout, and we're knocking out. We try to get cold. Some days made a kind of mistake in design feature. I thought we'd be okay. We've got the RO tank, and then glycol chilled heat exchanger. I wish I would have said yes to the cold liquor. I decided to opt out on that. We were tight on space anyway, but I was like, I will be fine. Hindsight's a motherfucker. I wish I would rather have that so we could get lagers colder like I would want.
Right.
But then again, you're pitching more yeast and that, but again, whatever. You plan properly or you want to spend that kind of money, that's cool. I actually don't mind I don't think the yeast cost I think that's negligible in the grand scheme of things, honestly. But yeah, we're doing like a brick and a half for 15, sometimes 2 on our bigger finishing Plato beers or lagers. But that knockout,
healthy pitching.
Yeah, that knockout looks at like something. If we can get to 12 and a half, that's cool. 12. Any lower than that, it's a little scary because it does take like almost 2 days to start bubbling sometimes. And we're like, is it going? It's going. But like, so maybe as high as 13 and a half. And then usually we'll ferment around 12 or 12 and a half for these things. Take that for until terminal, really. Towards the end, we naturally carbonate everything too. So we just bung the tanks. I now spooned or die, and I'm like, I'm dying, I guess, because
I gave Cody a water glass that's from Goodword.
He knew,
and it has the graphic "spoon or die" on the back of it, and
I loved it immediately. I was like, he knew. But yeah, I
get you.
Yeah, we just bung tanks, and that was because most of the spooning valves that we had at GB started not working, and we weren't placing parts. So I was taught to just to cap that tank. That's what we do here, and collect that CO2, and been pretty fortunate with that working out for the most part. With the 2 new locations, we're increasing a little bit. We've actually, I hate to admit, we've started using some carb stones. I know it's standard practice across the industry, but I have always been a naturally carbonated brewer. And so we still do that.
It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I know it is.
Carb stone your IPAs.
We finish them off with a little bit of hit. That's all we do. But yeah, so we bung everything or cap it, whatever term you prefer. At a, it's funny, I used bung because I don't normally use that one. I say cap the tank. But
cap the tank is fine.
Close the valve at a 1.5 to 2 Plato before terminal. Let that build pressure. And we'll warm at that point too. Usually take it up to maybe 14 C. If it gets there, I'll just set that set point on the chiller, and if it goes, it goes. And then we will let that hopefully finish everything out. Take it down to 7. Spend some time there to see if we eke anything more out, and then if we've got the time, we'll step crash after spending another week about 7, taking it all the way down to 0. And then again, hopefully, like if we have the time, 2 weeks at 0 before transferring off to bright, and then package or serve.
So still in that same unitank, just drop.
Yeah. We'll leave it in it'd be in the fermenter most of that time,
right.
And then send it off to bright and let it, the unitank, and let it sit there for service and everything like that.
All right. So we've talked about Märzen. Let's talk about let's talk about Bock.
Sure.
Your Schoolhouse Bock has done really well for you both at World Beer Cup and at GABF. I can't remember the last time we talked about Bock here on the podcast.
Right on.
And so when you approach something like Bock, which is maybe a little more full, a little more flavorful. So Schoolhouse Bock is a Maibach.
Yep.
Talk to me about your design approach to this.
So that's another.
And let me guess, it starts with the Gordon Biersch recipe.
It starts further than that, actually. So one of my original beers that I would get, I know I told you about Guinness Extra Stout was my original 6-pack, kind of that I would have my brother pick up for me underage, and then the next one was Dead Guy Ale from Rogue, and I really loved that beer. And I don't think it was ABV driven necessarily. If I had to recall, maybe it was 7. Is it still 7? I don't know. Maybe that's not even right. Loved that beer. Did not know I was drinking a Maibach for so many years. And even though I was like into styles and trying to educate myself as best I could, I don't think until I was brewing at Gordon Biersch, I was like, no way. And I go, well, that kind of adds, because like I told you, when I first brewed Maibach at Gordon Biersch and got to enjoy that, I was like, ooh, I think this might be the beer for me. And it's funny because I've grown to appreciate better now, which I didn't care for, was our Winterbach, which is a Doppelbock. And now I used to drink Spaten Optimator for sure. That was one of the old ones. We used to get down in college that a big schooner night. We'd go down to this place called Chumley's, and they would serve 32-ounce schooners, and you could get it like for $5. Optimator. It was great. Anyway, Bock beer. Just a soft spot. I kind of always wanted to do it, and like I told you when we were building that beer program early, I wanted to do seasonal lager rotation. Maibach being the spring one. Gordon Biersch, we used to do that. Kolsch for summer. And then Lederhosen for, so we've done Vienna Lager now, and that's been a huge hit. And we didn't do that at Gordon Biersch. That was kind of something I heard about how good a Vienna Lager could be, had some great ones. And I was like, we're going to do that. And that's been a really good, cool seasonal for us too. I know we're trying to talk about Bock, but again, lager, that's been fun.
Vienna Lager is fantastic, and more people should make it.
Oh man, it's, Devil's Backbone was a
right.
Jason was a break off of, I think Gordon Biersch might have been Rock Bottom, but and then Gary always used to say he won for that, and Schwarzbier all the time, and so I always had this thing about like let's do a good Vienna Lager. But yeah, Bock's been a soft spot for me, and I always wanted to make a good one, and like I told you, I just wanted to up the ante. So using better quality malts, incorporating Barquet malts from Vireman. Yeah. And then the biggest change has been the decoction, really. Like I said, that's another step mash beer, similar 52, 62, 68, 72, 76 out, but with the decoction in there. So
what is it about the Barquet pills that you really love in that one?
It just drives it. It's more malty. And we utilize some of that in our 40th as well. I just think it adds that little extra. It's more malty than their standard Pilsner, of course, but it's just got a character that's a little different. Again, I wish I could give you a more astute sensory description.
Right. Is there higher finishing gravity on this Bock than some of your?
It's funny about that too.
Because I would generally expect just a little more sense of fullness.
16.5 or so, and then we'll finish. We want to be under 3, or we'll get 3. I shouldn't say that. Maybe 3.5. Again, I have to look at the sheet. I used to drive alcohol on both of those and try and push that and Doppelbock up higher to 8. I don't think they drink as good, and we found that out. I really do. Like, that's not the thing. You make it, and I know we're talking low ABV, but we're talking Bock here. I think it's better at a little lower, and I think keeping it around 16.5, and again getting to more like maybe 3 if you can get there.
Right.
And that provides more drinkability at that lower attenuation. But that's
having somebody be able to order a second is a pretty important function. Here.
Yeah, and you got to be responsible again too from that aspect as a brewery. I mean, we talk about that. I know we touched earlier, but anytime we do quads or anything like that, I try to tell people limit them to 2 or ask them: are they having water? Are they having food?
Right.
So you do want them ordering another one. So.
And so there's this sense of fullness and this malt richness that comes with the Bock, but then there's also the same kind of structure. These are also 3470, similar kind of Magnum bittering, or?
For that too. Yeah, I'd have to look if we do anything later, just for a touch. And it's funny, actually, Schoolhouse Bock commonly gets feedback for being too hoppy.
Too hoppy.
Yeah,
even though there's just one addition at the start.
It's really funny. We might be first. We're at 90. And I don't think we do whirlpool because it's probably inappropriate anyway. But like it's one of those things that like maybe I just do. I'd have to look at the sheet. But we've been told before that it's too malt, and we target it's posted, but we target like a 25, I think, or IBU or so, something on that. But yeah, that's a really common. It still wins, of course, but it gets common feedback that's too hoppy, and I'm always like, oh, everyone's palate's different, right? So that's not what I pick up.
So you get feedback off of the World Beer Cup silver medalist in 2024 and 2-time bronze medalist at GABF 20 and 21 that it's too hoppy.
I think that might have been in the comments,
even though you won some medals. Interesting. Interesting.
It's funny with some of the award stuff, and again, maybe
I'm sorry. It's too easy to take pot shots at judges. Like,
I'm not trying to.
No, these are cheap shots for me too. Like, it's funny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've done plenty of judging myself. I completely understand.
Oh yeah,
it's the environment you're in, the context you're in, and and so it can be easy to take shots after the fact when you're not necessarily in the trenches right there. And anyway, this is just fair game. So whenever anyone reads the feedback that I write about their beers, as what our editor thought in Craft Beer and Brewing, you can certainly think about me like, what the fuck was he saying when he got that out of that?
Right.
I am just as susceptible to that. So anyway, I say that only in the spirit of understanding that I am also similarly guilty for the same kind of thing.
It's a tough job, no doubt. And we were discussing earlier that sometimes you get a bad can or a bad bottle, and the other ones might have been fantastic. But the ones that you got sent there maybe got mistreated, or it's unfortunate because it's funny when we've had the same type of feedback before, where a beer might have won in competition A and it didn't place in competition B, and you're like, that's interesting. We sent the same one. So was that a packaging thing or something else?
Judging is an interesting one. And I mean, we do that from time to time. We'll put the same beer into different flights with judges.
That's cool.
Just to kind of see like how things work out. Partly to understand the way that our judges, are approaching these things. And a few weeks ago went and judged the Best of the West competition with Ben Edmonds in Oregon, same kind of thing. All the beers get judged by 3 different groups of judges in that first round. And that goal is like, hey, if there's commonality amongst those judges, then you can be very statistically confident in the things that move forward. And so we're also always trying to think about that kind of relevance and understanding where our blind spots might be in judging. Mm-hmm. But that's some boring talk. Let's set that aside. Let's talk about in a broader sense, in some of the lager experimentation that you're doing, outside of some of these beers that are going to be competition winners, you're still playing around with things like, smoked Helles. You're playing around in a lot of different spaces outside of your normal kind of core rotator, common things. What are some of the most interesting kind of lager brewing experiments that you've been working on, one-off beers or collaborations or things that you've learned something through the process of brewing in this lager space?
West Coast Pilsner has been a jam lately, and that's always come from, I've wanted to, before it became hot, I wanted to take 40th Parallel or Czech Pils, be like, let's do this West Coast style. And it's cool that there's been all this, again, thanks to Craft Beer and Brewing and everything being out there, people sharing their techniques. Seems like I should have been paying attention to Jack's Abbey a long time ago, probably, but it's just neat.
There's
like
for inspiration, old podcast episode out there
with
Jack. That's an old one now.
So, but that's been a lot of fun lately, playing with West Coast, and we're real big fans of that style. I mean,
we called it IPL back then. That's how old that episode was.
We still do in Indiana, and we were playing so we've went full coast West Coast Pilsner, but we tried IPL, we tried Hoppy Lager for marketing purposes. It's Indiana after all, and then it's you don't know what to hit, so you got to try it. But we're sticking with West Coast Pils because that's what it should be. And
so talk to me about your West Coast Pils.
Even though I'll defend IPL, actually, I am a IPL hill dyer, I think, truthfully be said. Because what is it? It's an India Pale Lager, is it not?
But that name is a complete concoction, a marketing concoction.
Nobody likes that. Nobody likes it. So it's West Coast Pilsner.
If it sells, if the name connects it to people, then that's what that's.
I made the marketing joke before. I think I do need to let somebody else handle those decisions sometimes because it's like, yeah, let's go.
So how do you approach? You use your Czech Pilsner as a basis for your West Coast Pilsner.
It's dry. Even though I know again we talked a little bit about should probably have a little bit more body for Czech Pils for style. But I like it dry. Hoppy. We boost that thing to 40 IBUs. I like it at that threshold of the top spot there, and
that's getting there.
Yeah, for sure. And we've gotten feedback.
Could be better. Could be higher.
I like your style. They've given us feedback that beer's too hoppy, and I'm like, okay, well, I like it where it's at, but okay. I think too light.
I'd like to have a word with those judges.
Too light, it turns into a German Pilsner, even though it's with Saaz and, whatever. But that's another. Yeah.
We might like our German Pilsner also, 45 to 55. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I know I've talked about it before.
Wish I could have brought some of that with us for you.
Yeah, but Joe Sting, our executive editor, is a big fan of extra hoppy Pilsner. Yeah. So 55 is a good place for him, and
I like it.
There's not a Pilsner that's going to be too hoppy for him. And the saddest thing is West Coast Pilsner that just doesn't have
enough.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. So,
but how do you outside of IBUs? So how do you think about flavor in that? Because if Citra obviously can be a piece of this, but you don't want it to just be
always almost
so fruity.
No, we've kind of accepted that lately about like Citras and everything, whether we say it or not. Just like whether it's in there at some some role, it's there.
It does make everything a little bit better. Not most things, not everything.
Yeah, you're right. It has its places. But so first wort. 90-minute. Oh, I should say too, with all our lagers, most of them are 90 minutes. On our box, we'll do 105 sometimes. So that's another little that we do that.
Just a little more reduction, a little more.
Trying to, boost that malt. Trying to get something more out of there. Again, if that's what they're asking for and they're not getting, I don't know what else to do. I'm not going to parlor trick too much. So I don't like tricks. So yeah. First wort 90. I think we do like maybe a 30 in there, or it's probably 15, and then in a nice whirlpool load. I forget the pounds per barrel that we target for that, but we kind of took that same model and then just switched it out. Yeah, and the one that we started recently is Citra and Nelson we call it 86 Meridian, because that's the inverse of 40th parallel where we're at in Whitestown. Just kind of thought that'd be cheeky, so. It's Citra and Nelson with a little Mosaic and Whirlpool, and then we use Nelson Hyperboost this most recent time as a final dry hop. But yeah, it's real nice. What I'm saying with the approach is those hops throughout the entire boil process. Whirlpool, we do one good dry hop load. I think that's at I want to say 33 pounds or so for that 15 barrel batch or so, and then. It's written down. This is why it's always written down, so I can repeat. So but the Pilsner,
same 3470 fermentation.
Same 3470 fermentation. So fermentation on West Coast Pils, 3470. We still knock out cold. We like to do the knockout cold and keep it there for 48 hours, and then we've been doing free riced about 18 and letting it finish there. When it gets to the same point about that capping, and that's typically where we were, that 1.5 degrees above terminal, we'll dry hop and then cap.
Dry hop and then cap.
Mm-hmm. And then blow down and then dry hop again. Yeah, so we are double dry hopping then, and I think probably 66, I bet, pounds.
And
total.
hop creep isn't an issue for you with that?
It's one of those things that I particularly don't like to count on for beer. I prefer not to, and that's why we're trying to. We're actually, that's a newer thing for us, is switching to going later and later dry hops to try to not account for that. I want the beer to finish on its own without the need of that extra push for that style. Yeah, that's the approach for that one.
But VDK production, even with the capped tanks, is not really an issue.
No, we're good. I think spending that extra time for conditioning, we almost treat the finish like a lager still. So even though we're up at 18, we'll slow crash that down. Sometimes we'll still take it to 7 and let it hang out there for a little while and then take it the rest of the way. Give it time to clean up. When we naturally carb, though, we're building up pressure, we're constantly blowing off too. So I think some of that is doing some scrubbing. If you're worried about any of that type of issues, but VDK is not an issue. No, we don't seem to have. We've started incorporating ALDC recently, just as a safeguard. Again, I'd like to think I could pick up diacetyl pretty well, but to anyone else, if they've tried our beer and they say they can, then maybe I should listen. I think we take a lot of time with our lager that it's going to work its way out.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, let's, we've been talking for a while now. Let's zoom out and think about big picture. You've been with Moontown from the very start, helped develop the beer program. Watch now you're in 3 locations. You guys have a whole slew of GABF and World Beer Cup medals. What's in the near term? What are the big long-term goals for Moontown?
You've teased the European Beer Star, and I think I just got to figure out the import laws now then and get that done. Yeah, those have been.
Now you need to win all the competitions.
Right. It's
okay.
I mean, it's one of the funny things back to winning Lederhosen. My old mentor used to say that you don't beat the Germans, and when I was sitting at home and that happened, German brewery won silver or something that year because I think it was like post COVID. They didn't have it was not in person, or maybe it was. I didn't get to go, whatever. And we beat the Germans. It was a funny thing. I don't know. I want to keep making better beer. Again, it's great to. I've got a great team with me, and we're all working towards making better beer and trying to even improve on what we were already doing. So, I look to other competitions just to see, throw the hat in the ring. Why not? I want to get a handle on our 3 locations and keep running them smoothly and developing great product and try not cut corners and sacrifice any of that while we grow. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough bill to do, but yeah.
Well, that is a great place to bring it to a close. And Nick and Jason and Rob, sitting in our conference room next door, are waiting for us to finish this so we can go grab a beer here at Zwei and Fort Collins, and of course more lager beer because
why not?
Hey, that's what we're here for. Anyway, G&D Chillers has chilled the beers you love, partnering with 3,000 plus breweries across North America and beyond. Berkeley yeast bioengineers ordinary strains to make them extraordinary. Need a custom fruit blend for a growing brand? Contact the experts at Old Orchard. Release your creativity with the magic of pure, uncut Oregon hops from Indy. Extra Tough has been making rugged and reliable boots for 75 years. Hyper Boost is a smarter dry hop solution that delivers bold, variety-specific aroma and flavor, even in the beers of Moontown. And the Brewery Workshop will help prepare you for the challenges of brewery operation. If you've enjoyed this podcast, go to beerandbrewing.com, click on that subscribe button. Help us bring more of these great conversations to you, whether they are recorded here in our office in Fort Collins or all over the world, because this is a good year for international podcasts, and I think there's more coming, even working on our fall travel right now. It's going to be interesting. Could be cool. Anyway, Cody, if people want to learn more about Moontown, the beers that you make, and not just read these great reviews in Craft Beer and Brewing about your beer, not just see all these medals that you guys win in all the competitions for it, other than European Beer Star, where can they find out more about Moontown and the beers you make?
Come to Indiana, come to Whitestown, come to Nashville, Indiana, come to Carmel, moontownbeer.com.
Awesome.
Check us out.
Awesome. And like I said, subscribers to Craft Beer and Brewing will see the review of Follow the Lederhosen, scored 97 in the new issue. Dirndl Dance last year with a 98. Some truly incredible beers. Of course, 40th Parallel Pills that I was drinking earlier scored a 96 with our judges. Not too shabby. Whatever you guys are doing is working. Keep doing it. And can't wait to keep tasting your beer.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, cheers.
Appreciate it.
This podcast has been brought to you by Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine for those who love to make and drink great beer. To learn more or to subscribe, visit beerandbrewing.com or find us on social media at Craft Beer Brew.